Hey folks, and welcome back to another episode of your Brains Coach podcast. My name is Shurina. I'm your host, I'm your Brains Coach, and it is my job here to bring to you all the best, recent, exciting, cutting-edge brain body tools so you learn how to operate this machinery, specifically your brain, so you are more in control of how your brain makes decisions about different important areas of your life. So you design your life experience closer to your dreams, to your goals, to your aspirations. That's what this podcast is all about, helping you to design a better life. And of course, that better life comes through action. We can just think our life into existence. We actually have to take action. And the way we take action, how our thoughts, our aspirations, our goals, our emotions are aligned with what we actually do, it all depends how skillful we are with using our brain, this most sophisticated computer in the entire universe. So today, folks, as promised, we're gonna talk about this book that just came out that I'm super excited about. It's called Your Future Self, How to Make Tomorrow Better Today by Hal Hershfield. And on Wednesday, we started our conversation about procrastination and how people who succeed with achieving long-term goals, how they, for example, think differently about their to-do list, and how and why they don't procrastinate on those projects and those goals and those actions that lead to realization of their long-term dreams, desires, very complex and challenging goals. So we started our conversation on Wednesday. Yesterday, by the way, we did the podcast where, the audio event on LinkedIn. It's becoming, a tradition every Thursday, 6 p.m. That is Central European time, or 12 p.m. In New York, 9 a.m. Pacific. We do 30-minute audio events where we cover a certain topic about high performance, sometimes also health, and then also about brain and productivity. So yesterday we were talking about procrastination, and I started talking about this book as well. And today, we're gonna go into more detail on what this book is about, what are the main thoughts, and how you can use these main thoughts and strategies suggested in the books so you are better at making your future better tomorrow. And we make our future better by taking action today. What you do today is the future that you're going to get. Now, of course, there are things that are out of our control, but you'd be surprised how much control you actually have over how your life turns out to be when you put in consistent action. But now let's get to the topic, and let me start actually with my morning cold shower tradition. So when I was reading the book, I was like, I must have, you're going to understand what I'm talking about, but let's get back to that cold shower. So this conversation in my head happens almost every morning. Hopefully one day it's just going to stop and I'm just going to do it. But very often I wake up and I'm about to take a cold shower to jumpstart my day, to start feeling like dialed in, focused, on fire, motivated. It changes your whole brain-body chemistry, helps the brain to release more dopamine and adrenaline, and that keeps you again focused, motivated, energized, etc. So every morning I take a cold shower for that reason. But there is still this conversation between my present self and my future self. So it goes something like this. My present self, it sucks. I don't want to do that. Let's just, start working, start our day. My future self, but it's going to feel so much better. I'm going to feel so much better, and I'm going to be so much more motivated and energized and focused. So let's take a cold shower. And my present self usually, gives in and I take a cold shower. So I was thinking to myself while reading the book, I must love my future self more because I do so much more in the present for that future self. But of course, my present self gets to live in that future shortly after. So I don't know if it's, I love my future self or present self better. They kind of like melt into each other very fast. Why am I talking about my future self and my present self? Well, this book, Your Future Self, it talks about this relationship that we have between our present self and our future self. So they did brain scans on people, and they asked them to think about their present self, like what I do now, what, I don't know, I think about my life, what actions I'm about to take. And they asked them to think about their future self, more distant future self, the one that's going to be in a few months, in a few years, right? Like what their life going to be like, what their, aspirations, goals, relationship going to be like. And what they learned doing those brain scans is that a lot of people, when we think about our future self, the areas of the brain that are activated are the areas of the brain that are activated when we think about strangers. So our future self is literally like a stranger for us. And how do you usually treat stranger? The one that you don't really care that much about. You usually exactly that. Don't care that much about them. You're not going to get out of your way to, spend time and energy taking care of their needs. You're not going to be sacrificing a lot in your present, right, for that stranger. No, it's a stranger. And so what they found is, and throughout the book, this is the theme, that people who have better relationship with their future self, they are more intimate, so to speak, relationship. It's kind of like your friend that you always communicate with, that you want to take care of. You don't want them to suffer. You want them to succeed. But you relate to that person more often and you feel closer to that person. People who have closer relationship with their future self procrastinate much less in the present and do a lot more so that future self thrives and stays happy and succeeds. And back to that conversation that I have every morning. For me, relationship with my future self was always very close one. Some people even say, Angela, you like almost never in the present. You're always in the future. And maybe that's why I do so many things for that future self. And my future, maybe I don't always succeed, but whatever is in my control to improve the well-being, the success and happiness of that future self, I always do it in the present. Do I feel those uncomfortable feelings and resistance to doing things that I don't like in the present, like working long hours or scheduling sales calls and then doing those sales calls? I can't say it's my favorite activity. No, but I still do them because I want in the future to be successful, financially abundant, and have a great impact on the future, not just myself, but I want to help a lot of people. So I do a lot of things that my present self doesn't enjoy that much, but my future self will absolutely love having the results. And one of the practices they recommend in the book to develop this more, this closer relationship with the future self is, for example, and it's actually become such a common practice that there are websites that will accommodate this practice. So the practice I'm talking about is writing letters to your future self, like in 10 years from now, for example, or even in a year, in 3 months, and then writing back. So it's kind of like that person. It becomes your pen pal, your friend that you write letters to and get letters from. So this is the practice that helps people to build a better, closer relationship with their future self. And that helps them to make better decisions in the present for that future self. Also, what helps, just simply imagining, visualizing that person more often and in more detail, And in a way that you would think about your friend. Like, would you want your friend to suffer? Probably not. So you probably would do things like choosing better foods, choosing to exercise, choosing to invest in your work, in your career, more in your relationship, more in having those maybe difficult, uncomfortable conversations now. So your future self has better relationships and all the other results of you taking challenging actions today. So this better relationship with our future self, it's even not having a good relationship or not relating to our future self in a meaningful way also is a major cause for procrastination. So what the researchers also found, that people who don't think about their future self in a deep, meaningful way, like for example, oh, I'm going to have a cake now and, doesn't really matter what's going to happen in the future, right? I'm just going to choose the comfort, the joy of food right now, and I'm not going to be thinking too much of that future. Well, what they found is people who choose comfort and actions that might not be the best for the future, people who choose them now don't think that much or in a meaningful, deeper way about that future self. Somehow, when we procrastinate on better actions today, we think that that future self will feel different about challenging action. Like, for example, I don't want to exercise now, but I believe that my future self gonna start on Monday. And this is kind of like a bias and fallacy of our brain, because that future self not going to feel any different. No, not really. Not in most of the cases. They're still going to feel the same discomfort and resistance. And so our thinking about that in the future we're going to be different, that's one of the fallacies why we don't act now, because we believe it's going to be different. Or another fallacy that was described in the book, it's a bias actually. They call it projection bias. So if you feel right now not motivated or maybe not positive about, let's say, taking on new job, and you start thinking, oh, it's probably gonna suck, I'm not gonna like it, maybe I'll have to move to another city, and you start having this negative feeling about the job opportunity, for example. And so projection bias is about then you think, well, I'm going to feel exactly the same way in the future, let's say in a month from now. And it's still going to suck and I'm still going to feel like it's, bad opportunity and I shouldn't take it. But things change. And today you might not feel that great, maybe because, and literally in the book they talk about that, maybe because the weather isn't that great. Maybe you are hungry. Maybe you were stressed the whole week and you feel this, negative feeling. And now you feel and you think in a negative way about any opportunity that comes your way. So this projection bias is all about, we make decisions often also basing our decision on the way we feel now. And we don't understand that in the future, the weather will change, a lot of other things will change, and we'll feel a lot different about how things are. Also, what they found, the same bias, we might feel super excited and motivated. I'm going to plan my workouts for the next month. I'm going to work out every single day. I'm going to eat healthy every single day. You just feel that good, that pumped. But then, you feel that today, but then tomorrow comes, or maybe a week later, and you've been putting in the work perhaps, and then you start feeling more tired. You maybe have a lot more work on other days. You start feeling like this, nutrition plan isn't really that exciting. And so you start feeling a little bit or a lot less enthusiastic. And that's when you usually change things, you quit. But the problem was that when you made the plan, you over projected the feelings, the positive feelings of motivation, of drive, of confidence. You over projected that in the future. But what we know for sure, that feelings are actually fleeting. And that's what Navy SEALs talk about when they say, I don't rely on motivation. Motivation doesn't last. What they actually talk about is that feelings don't last. So if you rely on a certain feeling to do the work, the uncomfortable thing, then you're not going to go very far. So you kind of have to understand that you're going to feel different, that every day you're not going to feel like doing that, that you will feel tired, you will feel demotivated. What you going to do then? Right? You gotta have a plan. So that's what overprojection that they talk about in the book is. And now speaking about overprojection, okay, you will, feel negative. Not everything is going to be sunshine. So how do people overcome then procrastination or perhaps not unwillingness to take certain action or overindulging in certain action like checking your social media or overeating on cookies? Well, in the book, they also talk about these commitment devices. That is a strategy when we create certain conditions that either make us do the action we don't want to do or restrain us from action that, from action we don't want to do, like checking social media, for example, too often, or overeating cookies. So commitment devices. In the book, they give this example of a guy, a friend of the author, and he decided to work with a nutritionist as a part of their plan to commit to better eating. He committed to taking pictures of his meals. And just the fact that he would take the pictures, that he would think about sharing his diet, his actions with another person, just thinking about that made him follow through with the plan. And that's why also a lot of times people sign up for coaching or different challenges or, different group experiences. Like I'm organizing one starting September 4th, for example, and clients who are signing up tell me, I know what I gotta do, but without accountability, at this time, I'm failing to do that. And so I need that accountability, that's someone who's going to keep me accountable for my actions, taken or not taken. So they are talking about this commitment device. People know it works. So folks, if you didn't know that this works, now you know. In science, again, in psychology, they call it commitment device. When you commit, usually you involve other people, or as you're going to learn sometimes, technology to keep you accountable. And just knowing that you are being kept accountable will help you to do uncomfortable actions or to stop doing actions that you don't want to do. So for example, I'm also now, we recently started business mastermind, where we keep each other accountable on certain actions, business-wise, and of course all with the purpose so we achieve certain results. And so we feel that we don't always show up fully for ourselves, and now we have this group where we help each other with advice, but also we keep each other accountable, right? So this is called commitment device, and it can be this psychological commitment because nobody's gonna go after you if you don't do something. It's just gonna be psychological pressure. But then also there are devices, like there is they describe this guy who created this kind of like safe device, like Tupperware, but with a lock and a timer. And people would put there, for example, their cookies so they don't overeat them and only have like maybe one, every single day. They would put their mobile devices in that safe for timers so they can only check it certain hours of the day. So this is what they call limiting choice device. So basically you eliminate the choice, the availability of that thing that you don't want to do, right? Like eating more cookies or checking your phone too often. Then there is this punishment, not technology, but punishment tool that people use also to either make themselves commit to an action or restrain themselves from taking action. What I'm talking about, like, there are those websites like Stick with the double K at the end, where people would sign up and they would assign a certain punishment, like, for example, giving away money to charity they hate if they don't follow through with the action, like, I don't know, running or eating or not eating, certain things. And then usually you would have a third person who would keep you accountable. And so if you don't follow through, they will, make this money donated to your charity of the least choice, right? The one you hate. So there are all these methods and tools that people use to make themselves follow through on their intentions and goals, because most people know that how we feel today, it's not how we're gonna feel in a month. And that's why you also, when you make plans, folks, keep this in mind. And I also am, I fell for that so many times. Like, I would wake up on something and I feel so motivated and I'll make this plan for the next months of revolutionizing my life and business and everything. And then, after a week or a couple of weeks, you lose enthusiasm and you kind of get back to your normal action patterns. And of course, you lose the momentum, and it's not a great pattern. And now I'm committed to not making this happen. And that is why I'm a part of this mastermind. That's why my family keeps me accountable and I talk to them every day. And I don't have any, punishment devices. But for me, being accountable by other people, it is very strong. Just like for most people, you don't want to look back. You don't want to look bad, in front of your peers or your family. You want to look good, right? So there is a lot of pressure actually right now in my life, and that is actually good. I know that this is gonna make me follow through and succeed with my goals. And that's, the kind of the main thing that I wanted to share with you today. This book, Your Future Self, How to Make Tomorrow Better Today. And the main thought of the book is when we develop better relationship with our future self and we treat them as a friend, and we develop this relationship just like you would develop regular relationship with another person. You show up, you write them letters, you listen to them, you talk to them, maybe in your meditations, you visualize them. And maybe also that's why how manifestation works, right? You start developing this more intimate, closer relationship with your future self. And because of that, you show up for them more often, like you would for your friend, somebody who you love, and you'd love them to be happy and you'd love them to succeed. So developing that relationship, better relationship with the future self, closer relationship through journaling. For my clients, I suggest 5 minutes a day. Spend that time on either writing a letter or journaling about your future self, or visualizing them, or talking to them with your eyes, closed or open. Just create this better, this closer, this tighter connection to your future self, and you'll already start making better decisions and take better action more consistently. But then also, of course, be aware of this projection bias, is that how you feel now is not how you're going to feel in a week, a month from now. And that goes for positive and negative feelings. And then also, that you change what you like or don't like today is also going to change. And being okay with that will help you to plan for the future better. Understanding that, again, feelings change, you change. So perhaps if there is an opportunity, but you're uncertain and you are uncomfortable, well, maybe that thing will also change, right? If I don't feel like, for example, making a lot of sales calls right now, or giving a lot of talks in public right now, but with practice, that's going to change. And I'm actually going to start loving it. And that's actually what's happening right now. The same with like business and all these different processes. And when you scale, you might not feel that comfortable right now because you're just at the beginning. But once you get more experience, once you get the reps in, so to speak, you're going to start feeling better. The same with exercise. You might think, well, I don't like exercise. You don't like it now. But when you exercise for a year, guess what? You're going to start kind of loving it. That's what all the exercises say. They're like, I might not always want to start exercising, but I love the process. And at some point you become almost addicted to that. And you might not love eating your vegetables and fruit right now, but over, let's say, cookies and cakes, but at some point I always didn't. And then I changed my habits and I stayed consistent. And now I cannot imagine a day without fruit and vegetables. And I look at all these cookies and cakes and I'm like, what's in it? I don't even want it. Like, I genuinely do not want it. And if you ask me the same 15 years ago, I'm getting old. I'd probably say that thing would never happen. So this, a relationship with the future self, develop it, spend 5 minutes communicating with them, and then understand that what you feel now, how you feel now is going to change. So don't over project that. And also know that there are these commitment devices for now to change your habits. So if you're struggling with exercise, if you're struggling with eating healthier, if you're struggling with your business routines, that just install those commitment devices, join a group, join one of those websites, create some sort of pressure that's going to keep you accountable. And until that becomes your second nature and you're just going to do it automatically. And that is exactly what's going to happen. So folks, thank you for your attention. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you found this information useful and insightful and it gave you a few aha moments. And my highest hope is that because of that, you'll sit down and you start doing things differently when it comes to planning, when it comes to designing, different tasks. So you follow through and you design a better future for your future self. Pick up the book, Your Future Self, How to Make Tomorrow Better Today by Hal Hershfield. He was also actually featured and he was talking about this book on Hidden Brain podcast. So also check them out. Amazing podcast. And what else? Well, your assignment for this weekend, spend every day 5 minutes talking, thinking, visualizing that future self to develop better relationship. And then when you make plans, keep this projection bias in mind, that how you feel again today is not how you're going to feel tomorrow. And it goes for negative and it goes for positive, and you're going to change how you're going to feel about things. And so keep that in mind and have a more flexible, open mind, but also be a little bit more realistic, sometimes again, because if you over plan, being enthusiastic, for example, and then you don't follow through, you start accumulating this negative baggage and you lose confidence in yourself and in your future self. And that will backfire, right? That can create a negative kind of pattern that will make your future worse, not better. So something to think about. Homework, 5 minutes a day, communicate with your future self. Stay tuned for our future events every Thursday at 6 p.m. Find me on LinkedIn, Angela Shurina. And most important thing, if you found this podcast useful, insightful, and it's changing something in your life, please do share. Please leave us a review on iTunes, on Spotify, wherever you find your podcast. It will mean a ton to me and it will help me to deliver this podcast to more ears and help more people. So let's help make the world better together. And thank you guys for tuning in. Have an awesome weekend and I'll talk to you very soon.